Welcome back to all the shiny watercolors. We are testing QoR Medium, and give me 1 second. I'm sorry, I swallowed wrong. Anyway, so last week I discussed a little bit in the Watercolor Beginners and Beyond group the difference of using QoR Medium to wet cheap watercolor paints. So in the spirit of that today, and for the next few weeks, we are going to be testing all of our paints against each other with adding varying levels of QoR and just water. So this first palette here is this travel palette. Now I didn't use all the colors because I did run out of room at some point. I do not like this palette because you can't close it while it dries, so this sticks together, see? So you have to let it like dry. So I think the point is that you only wet the brush and then you rub it, and then yeah. You can't just wet the palette because then you can't travel with it. So anyway, highly do not recommend. But we did this with just water, and you can see it's nice bright colors. And then we did it with QoR Medium. And do you notice that it goes from chalky to having a bit of a sheen to it? It brightens the colors, and look how well it makes it flow. So what I did is I only added water to the palette, and then I added straight QoR Medium into that water to do the second one. I had to add more water because it kind of dried a little bit, but it you can see that it improved the flow and that it gave it a nice sheen, and it actually looks a little bit better. I don't know how well that shows on the video, but it was way easier to lift the paint out of the palette and way easier to put the paint into the paper. So I think it's worth it. I mean, if you have cheap colors or want to try a bunch of cheap colors, I got this I think for $12. And I got these paints for $9, I believe. So we're going to go back to our next test. We bought this set of Royal Langnickels for $5, and I didn't feel like getting the ones in the giant palettes because I already have them of a different brand, and they just kind of look the same to me. Like the palette looked exactly the same, so I'm pretty sure they are. I had cheap paints before and they dried out. These are in plastic tubes, and I hope they don't dry out. So what I did prior to this test was I mixed them with equal parts of water. So I put about 1/4 of a pan of paint and about 1/4 pan of water, and I blended it with the end of one of my plastic paintbrushes. Which has a flat. So I was able to like mush it until I blended it all the way creaminess, and then I allowed that to dry, and you can see they stick to the palette better. So all I did to re-wet this is put some drops of water in each pan, actually a whole dropper full of plain water into each of these pans, and then I tried it on this first one. So you can see it says plain water. I did not try the white, it's pointless, but so you can see how it is with just water. And then I took a second palette and I added about 5 or 6 drops of water of QoR Medium directly to this water, and then mixed it in the same direction where it's 1/4 of a pan of paint and 1/4 pan of this water mixture. Blended it well with the end of the brush. You can see the brush is still stained, and then allowed it to dry. And when I re-wet it today, I just re-wet it with plain water, and here's the result. I don't know how well it shows up on the camera, but you can see there is a better sheen to the paint. There is a richer color to the paint, and look how smoothly it lays down. Like you can see actual edges to the paint that I was able to paint it better, and you can see where it did wet with wet touch, they blend it together. I also think it gives it a little more of a granular feel, but not much. Like it looks better to me, and in person. I did do this test on wet, so I completely wet this paper before painting it. I wet all the paper before painting it, and then dried it after painting it. And the third test was these palettes right here, which I mixed a quarter pan of paint with a full drop of QoR in each pan, and then an equal amount of water. And then I blended that well, and it's dried, and today I just reconstituted it with water, of course. And you can see how much richer the colors got, how more easily they flowed on the paper. So, I mean, there is a huge difference between these three paints. So once again, water with QoR medium, QoR straight, and then water to reconstitute. So, I mean, it may be worth it to you. I think they turned out well, and I would personally like these best, but these flow like QoR paints. So, anyway, that was our test for today, and I want to keep this video short and sweet, and because this is for the group. And happy painting. So if you do have QoR medium, don't be afraid to experiment. Talk to you later, guys.